Welcome to the podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the triangle of success with your health and body goals, short term and long term. We're talking getting the health and body that you want and maintaining it for life. This is my methodology. I'm so excited to teach this to you because I'm on a mission for lasting transformation for ladies. And a lot of approaches aren't giving women a strong foundation, and it's creating these plateaus or yo-yos that really don't need to be happening because people are approaching things the opposite way and not building off a strong foundation. Now, this actually came as a result of teaching a masterclass on smart peptide use for women over 35. And I talked about, how to avoid plateaus with peptides, how to use them strategically. Are they aligned for you? Common mistakes I see. And honestly, there was this overarching theme in the class about where peptides fit in the scheme of getting the results that you want. And really, they're a top layer that is built on a much more important foundation. And that theme came through in the masterclass so hard that I needed to do an episode on what is the foundation that will actually set you up for lasting results. Okay, because a lot of people think it's like, okay, I do some workouts to tone up, I eat these healthy meals, but they're not getting the results. I'm going to walk you through what's in the gap, because if we put peptides at the top, it's like eventually that's what came through the class, because I've been researching so many and having so many conversations with people who are on peptides, have tried them, are curious about them, or have seen friends do it, and starting to hear rough stories around people using them and how they were guided to use them in a way that they're using them way too long and not actually fixing the problem underneath the surface that's driving the behavior. So anyway, welcome. Let's talk about this. I also want to keep the solo episodes more. I want to just share a bit more about me. So the latest and greatest is this past week, Pat and I celebrated our 21st anniversary. So married 21 years. We've actually grown up together. At this point, I've had more years married in my life than not, because I got married when I was 20. But he was, I did not plan to get married young. But when I met him, I was like, oh my goodness, he has everything I'd want in a husband and more. Like, I can't not keep them, So I got married way younger than I expected. And it's been such an adventure of having, I would say, our own eras in our relationship. I can say it's just gotten better and better. And yes, there have been some hard years, but holy smokes, I'm so grateful that we've gotten to rock life together. We have our 2 kids who were on spring break last week, which is a fun balancing act, because Chad and I are both business owners. He runs his own business. I have mine, managing that. Kids home, we want to make memories while also not running our businesses, while also not having them have a boring spring break. So we found a good balance. I'm proud of how we did it all. So those are the updates. All right. So let's talk about this. So this comes from, I have been a fitness professional for 12 years. I have coached full time for the past 6. I've maintained my ideal health, body composition, energy for the past 6 using the methodology that I coached hundreds of women on it. And that's all while building a 7-figure company as a mom, as a wife, etc. This works. I've only refined it more and more and sharpened it more and more, and even integrated peptides into this methodology in a way that helps, doesn't hinder, right? So I wanted to give you context. And really, it started with my own journey of, I said I was a health fitness professional for the past 12 years. Well, those first 5 was definitely a massive learning of what isn't effective and sadly what's really common when it comes to health, body transformation, weight loss, toning. I was doing everything that we're pretty much taught. Turns out there's a lot of missing pieces in what is very traditionally taught to lose weight and tone up. So I can look back and see, without the methodology that I created, shoot, no wonder I was stuck. No wonder I was yo-yoing for 5 years. No wonder I gained 25 pounds, even though I was exercising 5 to 7 days a week and very conscious of what I was eating. Wild. Okay. So I had to learn a lot more of what I didn't know. And when I did, My goodness. Not only did I get the results I wanted for my health and body, but they were way more maintainable. And it wasn't nearly so hard, and it didn't take nearly as much mental or physical bandwidth. Like, I just got it handled. So I'm really excited to teach these principles because as I taught that peptide masterclass, it's just like, okay, peptides are like the top of this whole foundation. Okay. And if we aren't giving people this foundation, the peptides is just they're missing too many pieces. And we're honestly setting people up to just continue yo-yoing even with peptides, which I am unavailable for. I'm on a mission for women to have a health and body that elevates every aspect of their life and to stop putting effort into getting the result, but actually getting the result and then just maintaining it. That's my mission. You should be operating in a body that is full of energy, you feel confident in, and you know how to maintain that. And you could just live your life that way instead of what most people are experiencing is like, okay, having another season of trying to get the results and then they see progress and then, okay, it goes backwards. And it's like so much energy just in the effort of getting there instead of let's get there and maintain and experience the benefits. Let's arrive and stay, right? That's what I want to do. And here's my honest take. If women do this right over the course of 1 to 2 years, they can change their health and body for the rest of their life. But it does take learning what works and integrating it into your life and working with your hormones and metabolism so that it's like solid. It's built on a solid foundation. It's not a 90-day challenge. It's not a 6-week boot camp. It's a couple years and you can change your health and body for the rest of your life. And these couple of years aren't working any harder than you were before. It's just more strategy. All right. So I want to share a little bit more about my story, and then we'll talk about how most approaches are lopsided. It's like putting a lot of emphasis on peptides lately in the world. And then women's strategies are like, it's this idea of, okay, work out more, eat less, eat healthier, eat cleaner. It's a very vague strategy and it's missing pieces. It's not prioritizing metabolism and hormones as much as they should. And then the operating system that they're running isn't supporting consistency. So this is going to tip. This isn't a strong foundation. Whereas if we do this right, where you have your operating system, this is the beliefs you're running, your psychological patterns, not relying on motivation to take action, things like that. It's like how you operate. It's your identity. It's what do you do how are you showing up when life is challenging, not just when life is in routine. That's our operating system. Okay. So then we need to prioritize metabolism and hormones because when you don't on your health and fat loss journey, and then you literally have to start back over. It's like you can't, that contributes to the cycle. It's like then you have to go back and heal it and you're probably gaining weight back. Like it doesn't, you have to prioritize metabolism and hormones. Strategy needs to actually get you the result, not be some vague idea. We'll talk more about the strategy around nutrition, workouts, sleep, hydration. And then this is where peptides fit, okay? Then peptides can accelerate your results when you're doing all this right, which is great. It becomes this beautiful feedback loop into the bottom of the operating system that, wow, like this is possible. I can do this. Wow, okay. Which is only going to help you show up more powerfully in those hard moments. Like I said, it's like, how are you showing up when life is challenging? It's like, okay, I know I can do this. I'm getting results. I've proven to myself I can get results. Awesome. Let's keep going, prioritizing this. It's this beautiful feedback loop. Now, this is a lot of how people are operating. They don't know it, but what happens is it's typically a cycle where you lose weight and you're like, yay, but then you keep regaining it. So then you try a little bit different of a diet or a new peptide or a higher dose of peptide. But again, it's this losing, regaining, and it creates this spiral that deep down, the belief underneath the surface is, I don't know if this is really possible. Which if you're operating from that, you are going to take inconsistent action, which leads to poor results. And then it's this negative spiral. We need to do this the right way. So my story, after I had my kids, my daughter's 13, I had gained some baby weight, and then I had this belly that really stuck out in a really odd way. It's like, whoa, I did not recognize myself when I looked in the mirror. In fact, the first month postpartum, I barely glanced in the mirror. I'm like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Like, we're going to take care of it. It's going to be okay. Let's just recover. It's okay. But when I would see my body, I didn't understand how my belly stuck out so much, even though I wasn't pregnant anymore. So the first year I was able to get the baby weight off, but my belly still really stuck out. And then in the process of getting the weight off and getting very consistent with fitness and learning more about nutrition, it really woke me up in my life. It woke me up to the goal setting. Looking back now, I can see that it released a ton of dopamine into my brain, which gives you a lot of drive. I would do my workout in the morning and then I would just be on this cloud to like, okay, I'm going to crush the day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been living like it just all of a sudden I was this driven human. I got a personal training certification. I started fitness blogging. I wanted to get in great shape. And I'm like, man, I could really make this something. And so I thought, okay, I need to get in really good shape if I'm going to like build a social media following and all of this. And I'm like, okay, I just need to like figure out how to look toned, get my tummy a little flatter, and then like I'll feel really good about showing up on social media. So I'd do like calorie counting, trying to keep my protein high, doing circuit workouts. And I would always lose weight, but then a couple things would happen. I would start thinking about food a lot, and I would never get toned, and my belly would still always pooch. It's like, that's frustrating. And then after about 4 to 6 weeks of, seeing the scale gradually go down and being consistent, I would start overeating. And I would start to like lose control maybe on the weekends or after I'm like, whoa, look at this. I got really lean, but I'm not super toned. My belly's still pooching out, but hey, really leaned out. And then I'd start overeating and it was wild. I didn't know what binging was at the time, but it was definitely binging. Whoops. Like, whoa, why did I do that? What the heck? Long story short, over the course of a few years, I just kept repeating this pattern of losing weight, gaining it back, plus some, gradually gained 25 pounds. And it was while putting in so much effort. I was always working out 5 to 7 days a week. It wasn't like, oh, I'll try this and then take a break. No, I was very consistent with my exercise because it was really good for my mental health and emotional health too. It made me feel very, very vibrant and alive. But when you're a certified personal trainer, the majority of your education is effective workouts and how to program effective workouts. They have 2 chapters on nutrition and 1 on behavior change. So I needed to do my own studying and unfortunately went down having to learn things the hard way. Gained 25 pounds. And I remember I wouldn't post on social media when I felt heavy. And then it felt more and more. Like I literally remember getting on the scale one day and it was the highest it had ever been. And I couldn't believe it. It was very defeating and scary. And I just had all these like loose tops. Like, shoot. Now, thankfully, I was invited to an emotional intelligence and leadership training. That it was a 4-month container. And there were several weekends that we would meet together. And then in between, you're implementing and integrating what you learned. And this did a few massive things for me. 1, it connected me to my self-worth and the greatness within me. It was like I really saw the truth of who I was, which was, and this is how I see people. It's like deep down, underneath the patterns and the things that we've created when we had to live to survive instead of live to thrive, and all these stories that we've built up, is a magnificent, limitless human who has massive potential. And so I saw that part of myself. And when you see that, you start to refuse anything that would diminish you. If it's internal, if it's external. So I started looking at the things I was doing. I was like, this isn't healthy. Like, this is not good to be thinking about food in this way and having this negative relationship with food. where and then obsessed with like eating less. So many times I was so hungry. It was just like, this is not actually, if somebody really has a high level of self-worth, they refuse to do things that aren't truly elevating them. So there was one. The other one, which was a bigger catalyst for change, because that helped me stop doing things. Then how do you shift what you are doing? This is where you become very aware that you are the source of all your results. I've created all of this. I have created this excess weight. I've created this tummy pooch issue. Okay. And you start focusing on solutions and you start being so honest with yourself that, I remember I'm like, what I've been doing is not working. Like, it's literally various versions of a caloric deficit and workouts and lose weight, repeat, gain it back, repeat. It's not it. And so it was like the surface level efforting. And I was able to drop down deeper, get really honest. Okay, this isn't working. I refuse to do anything that's not truly healthy for myself. And what do I need to do differently? And I realized I started solving the actual issues. Okay, I need to solve my relationship with food. Okay, I actually need to learn how to restore my deep core because I never did that postpartum, and that's why I have a tummy pooch that won't go away. I just had been avoiding it because it was really confusing to me. Like, well, we can't avoid it anymore. It's not going anywhere. I needed to better understand my nutrition and the right types of workouts that would actually get me toned instead of just, I got a great workout, but what do you know? I'm never toning up. Okay, so for me personally, I ended up getting coaches for each of these, experts in their field. So I started with my relationship with food because honestly, that was the biggest problem because I could rock my workout. I could be on top of my nutrition most of the time, but then I would get triggered, whether it was emotionally or some circumstance where I'd lose control and start overeating. So I got a coach for that to get on the other side of that. And it was actually a beautiful journey of learning how to honor my emotions, allow them, move through them, shift them without food. Like, it was one of the biggest assets and skills I learned. And it was key because if you keep sabotaging with overeating, like, you'll never get the health and body that you want. And this piece wasn't about discipline. It was about emotional intelligence. You can't fix an emotional eating problem or binge restrict problem, in my opinion, without emotional intelligence. So it was learning it and then integrating it. Next was restoring my deep core. So this is where I hired, and I did her certification actually, with postpartum recovery and learning, okay, how do I close diastasis recti? How do I restore my deep core? And holy smokes, I didn't even lose weight, but my tummy finally flattened up. Awesome. So then I started creating some programs, small programs to help women with that. And it felt really good. I integrated some of the things I learned about emotional eating into it. It was so good. But then I still had this body where I was like, okay, I feel okay in my skin. I had an extra 15 pounds. And I was like, you know what? I bet I could do this in a healthy way. I bet I could get toned in a healthy way that's sustainable. And so I learned more about macros. I learned more about how to keep my metabolism. Well, first I learned about macros and strength training with progressive overload and got a coach for that. Learned that skill, practiced it. Coaching really helps you take the information and use it and really understand it on a much deeper level than just trying to wing it, So I'm like, whoa, holy smokes. I was getting the tone I wanted. I wasn't restricting food and I was working out less, but getting better results. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm toning up. I'm tightening up. I don't feel like I'm wearing out my body. I'm not having these binge restrict cycles. This is awesome. So then I started adding that into what I was helping women with. And that was actually the start of my business 6.5 years ago. I put all those pieces together, really the emotional intelligence, leadership, mindset work was included. And then smart workouts, nutrition, deep core, etc. Then I also needed to learn how to restore my metabolism after a fat loss phase. Again, hired another coach who was really good at it, so I could integrate it, learn it myself, really be in there experiencing it, learn the ins and outs, and then started integrating that into our coaching. And that's primarily the methodology. And holy smokes, I maintained the results that I wanted for so long, and it feels so easy now. And then recently, last year, got the Peptides certification because peptides are here, whether we like it or not. And honestly, they can be a great tool. And I noticed people were using them. It's just like any tool, you can use them in a positive way or you can use them in unintentional way and it doesn't actually support you that much. So I always want to be on the forefront of what's coming up in health and fitness. And so I felt responsible to learn more about it because they're here. Let's help women use them effectively if they want to use them. So let's talk about how this comes together into this. All right. So operating system. My operating system before, this is like the beliefs, the identity. I did have an identity of a healthy person for years. I always valued health, etc. But my operating system was like, okay, if I work hard, then I'll get the results I want. The operating system is some of the beliefs you're operating under. So I'm like, okay, if I work before when I was struggling, I didn't understand how to change the things in my operating system that weren't helping. So I had a belief that, okay, if I work really hard, I will get the result. No, it's about doing the right strategy, not just about working hard. So I needed to change that. So I've changed that. The other part of my operating system was this pattern with food. Okay, I would start. Now, the crazy thing is you have to learn, where did you get these patterns in the first place? How did you create this operating system? I created this operating system with the food because of incomplete strategies I was getting. I never had a bad relationship with food until I started to lose weight because I was postpartum and trying to get baby weight off. But the things I was doing, the strategies I was doing created a feedback loop that I'm freaking hungry and I would start binging because the strategy never taught me how to restore my metabolism after a fat loss phase. So instead of restoring my metabolism, gradually eating more, maintaining that fat loss, I would just start overeating and gain it back. So then that reinforced the idea, okay, I need to work really hard. And I had this operating system of starting to lose control with food. Little did I know that wasn't helping my metabolism and hormones. Your hunger hormones go way up if you don't know how to do a metabolic restoration phase. And working out more is a big stressor to your system. So I had all kinds of issues because my strategy was creating this negative feedback loop. Now, there weren't peptides at the time, okay? But you can look at supplements and biohacking. Anywho, I think this is backwards, but we'll deal with it. Now, here's where I'm at now. Things in my operating system. I identify as a healthy woman who maintains her ideal body. And it feels good. Okay, so there's an identity layer. There's a layer of a positive relationship with my emotions. Whatever comes up, I don't have this fear that I'll start overeating because I know how to observe my emotions. I know how to shift my emotional state without food. I know how to look at, okay, are the thoughts I'm thinking creating an emotion that I need to be experiencing, or is what I'm thinking not actually true? I can just think something different and shift out. Or it's like, man, do I need to just let myself feel some things for a little bit? Cool, let's do that. We don't need to avoid, we don't need to dull, I don't judge the emotions, etc. Very good relationship with my emotions, and man, there are a lot of them, and that's okay. There's many things that we could talk about in the operating system. I'm not going to wait to feel motivated. I rely on my strategies and systems to be consistent, are some of my operating systems. Okay. Then my metabolism and hormones are top priority. I will never sacrifice them because they're the foundation that everything builds off of. So I make sure I'm eating consistently enough. I am resting. These are priority. Now, strategy, there's key elements I see needing to transform body composition. One, you need to understand your macronutrient needs and getting nutrient-dense foods and enough fiber. You need to know those baselines and make them consistent. Then you need to know how to take fat loss in phases. So each time you have a fat loss phase, it's directly followed by a metabolic restoration phase so that you can, it's another episode, but you can lose the weight, keep it off, and then keep going if you have more to lose. You need to learn strength training with progressive overload to actually build muscle. And then you need to get your sleep hygiene in check. And then for hydration, I do recommend electrolytes, but I'll save that for another episode of how to get those really in an easy way. And then that's the strategy. It's random workouts aren't ever going to get you the tone you want. Just eating clean isn't ever going to get you the tone you want. You need the specifics, the right macros, meeting nutritional baselines when it comes to nutrient-dense foods. And I love a good 80-20. 80% whole foods, 20% give yourself the wiggle room to have pizza, have dessert. It's okay. It can all fit in. You don't ever have to restrict unless maybe you have candida and you actually, to heal your gut, you need to stop having sugar for a while. In those rare cases, it makes sense. But for the most part, you don't need to restrict if you have good gut health, etc. So the strategy, peptides, can help accelerate the results that you're getting from this strong foundation. So it can help burn more fat, for example, while you're in a strategic fat loss phase. This is great. You're seeing more results. It's feeling good. It feeds the operating system of like, oh, I got this. This is just who I am now, and it's so doable. Awesome. So then you're more consistent. You adhere to your strategy better. And I recommend taking peptides in cycles as well. It is, and this positive momentum, use this, like you're good to go. So when I was teaching that peptides masterclass and sharing some of the stories that I'd heard about people's experience on peptides, I did not realize I was going to have to do a little bit of preaching on taking fat loss in phases, like on actually having a foundation. Because I was having conversations with ladies who would get on peptides, and then I would find out they didn't have any strategy. Like maybe they were tracking their food and trying to hit some macros, and then maybe walking or going to Pilates. Okay, that's not a great strategy. Okay, not taking fat loss in phases, and then they'd be on peptides for a year. I'm like, okay, your receptors are downregulating. Like, this is a problem. And then when you don't take fat loss in phases, it's really bad for your hormones and metabolism. And then the operating system, I would talk to people and they're like, man, when I stopped taking them, I just started eating more again because they hadn't changed their relationship with food. So peptides, if it's a GLP, the first thing it'll do is suppress appetite. So when you stop taking it, ideally, it gives you a time where you can change some of the patterns that you've had with food, but ultimately that food noise will come back. And if you haven't done the work to change your relationship with food and how you handle emotions and hunger and all of this, like your operating system, then you're going to gain the weight back. And so yes, peptides are a great tool, but if your strategy is shoddy, you're not prioritizing hormones metabolism, and you're never changing how you operate, this is a short-term, it's not a solution, okay? The foundation is the solution. The peptides are the accelerator if people want to use them. That's how the job gets done. But unfortunately, the systems that our culture has are, hey, you can buy peptides online. Just go buy them. But people aren't changing their nutrition. They're not changing their relationship with food. They don't understand their hormones and metabolism. And again, they're setting themselves up to gain it back when they stop taking it. This isn't a solution. And so that was the overriding theme of the class, where I refuse to put somebody on peptides who is not integrating good foundations. And this can, depending on where somebody's at, they can start very simply by getting more protein and getting a little bit of strength training. They don't have to have all of this figured out from the get-go and we're going to go into your history and change everything. It's like, hey, let's keep it simple and get good momentum with the non-negotiables, and then we can start to go deeper. And that's why I say take 1 to 2 years, learn this, you will change your health and body for the rest of your life because you have this strong foundation. And nobody can take this from you. Like, this is just scientific principles on health and body transformation. It's not some random diet or some 90-day thing. It's like, let's do this the right way. And so I wanted to share that because what I see in the industry is a lot of people will focus on strategy and trying, okay, like I'm going to try intermittent fasting and I'm going to start lifting more weights. Great. I love that for you. But they're missing, like, okay, how do you restore your metabolism after a fat loss phase? How do you take peptides in phases? And then how's your relationship with food? Or there's different underlying things where women maybe aren't setting boundaries or feel guilty prioritizing themselves. And so that's another part of their operating system that, when life is pretty normal, their adherence will be good. But when life isn't, that's when the weak links in your operating system will absolutely go up into your adherence on your strategy, and you won't quite be consistent enough to get the results that you want. Okay, so this is the triangle of success. And so it took me a while to understand this because our culture is very much focused on this. It's like, what supplement can I take? What thing can I take? And then let's try some new strategy that's not really based in, that has some missing pieces in it. It's like a short-term fat loss strategy, right? But underneath, we're not prioritizing metabolism. So women are stuck yo-yoing. And then over over time, their hormones really suffer because of it. And then we're never looking at what's driving the behavior in the first place. So of course, we're going to create inconsistency. Even if you have a good strategy, like I used to have, but my relationship with food was so bad. Okay, we'll always come back up. Okay. So after coaching for years, living this for years, this is the foundational structure that will set you up for success. Doesn't have holes in it, not built on some missing foundation. And like I said, I'm on a mission to have women live in the health and body that they want, not this constant attempts and attempting and trying. It's like, let's actually solve the problems. Okay. And obviously, I could go deeper on each of those pieces, whether it's the hormonal piece or operating system, but I wanted to give an overarching view of how we can really solve the problems that women are having with their health. Okay. So I would love to hear what resonated with you, and we will see you on the next episode.